a certain something.
When you met her, she would say, "You don't know who I am? My name is Brandy."
She would tell people, look, I'm going to be famous one day.
They chased one goal relentlessly.
Brandy is a perfectionist.
She is the hardest judge on herself.
She wanted Jesus to be happy with her.
Through struggles.
I said, Brandy, you're not Vanessa Williams Drop Dead Gorgeous. You got mean people in this world.
They mess with my kids. Somebody's got to pay.
And setbacks.
This is real serious right here.
There was tension and fights on the set.
There was one person who terrorized her to no end.
Teenagers are not the greatest creatures on the face of the earth.
Some people are just driven. An ambitious Southern girl's defiant pursuit of superstardom.
Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be a singer, like Whitney Houston.
She talked about Whitney from the time she got up to the time she went to sleep.
Never before seen images, stories, and revelations from the people who know what really happened.
She was yelled at, talked about.
Girls just didn't like her. They would call her Pippi, because her mom used to braid her hair into like 2 ponytails.
One time she goes, "Do I look like E.T.?"
Because they lived it with her.
Cream always rise to the top. All you have to do is keep churning it.
This is the rise and rise of Brandy.
Brandy was born in Macomb, Mississippi on February the 11th, 1979, approximately 7:51 a.m. The first words that I spoke to the doctor were, "You have just birthed a star."
Ray and Sonia was very excited about the new birth of their child.
She was our star. She was the beginning of what was going to kind of lead our life down a different path.
Her birth was very special because I had lost a baby. I just felt like Brandy was sort of, okay, you didn't have your first one, so with this one I'm going to give you double. Her daddy was a singer.
That was a music man. I went all over Mississippi teaching church music.
She sung her first solo in a church in Brookhaven, Mississippi.
She sang, "Yes, Jesus Loves Me."
She had such beautiful vibrato. She could sing. Oh, she could sing.
Macomb, Mississippi is a place of serenity for me.
It's a very small town, a little railroad town.
We went to church all the time, and during the week we had Bible classes. It's very important in all our lives.
Brandy was so intense about Jesus. I mean, she wanted to obey the gospel. She wanted to do whatever it took to get to heaven. She wanted Jesus to be happy with her.
Brandy was very helpful when I was pregnant with Ray J. The day that he was born, she came to the hospital. She would run around the bed, and then she became the controlling person where she began to tell him everything to do.
They like butter and toast. They are very, very close.
Brandy was 4 when her parents moved to California.
We moved to California because my husband had a job offer as a minister of music at a congregation in Southern California.
We are a close family, so it was hard for them to move because of that.
It was a struggle to pick up 2 kids and bring them to California, and you don't really know what your future is all about.
Carson, California is a very neat, manicured little town.
One day I saw this for sale sign sitting in the yard in this house. I called the realtor and I said, "Look, my credit is not the greatest. I don't have any money, but I want this house." And it was a struggle. You know, your credit cards are just added up. You know, and the envelopes are coming through saying, you know, you're past due. But God worked it out. Brandy went to Ambler Elementary.
She was a good student. She always did her work. In my class, she made A's and B's.
Brandy was very vocal. If she didn't like something, she told you that she didn't like it.
Brandy got her boldness and her outspokenness from her mother.
Hi, my name is Brandy Norwood, and I do want to go to
She
Florida.
ran her mouth a lot. She was always picked on. She was always talked about.
Me and her, we both had a bully. It was a bunch of girls. They would basically try to, boss you around.
I remember one particular situation where there was one person who terrorized her to no end. And I know what that feels like because I was bullied in school too.
They were just really jealous.
It reminds me that God says, revenge is mine, I will repay.
Brandy sang with me in my children's choir, and eventually she took over. And it was so funny how she could demand that they respect her as the choir leader.
Lord, you know
It was very important for Brandy to please her father because she looked up to him and she knew he was a great singer.
Her dad crosses T's and dot I's when he teach vocals.
Every note had to be perfectly sung. You would have to practice forever, over and over again.
He and Brandy, they were always able to communicate, if nowhere else but in song.
She knew that if her father said that it was perfect, that it was.
I'm a perfectionist, and Sonia is too, and so is her dad. So Brandy became a perfectionist.
She wanted her hair perfect, she wanted her clothes perfect, and she wanted to behave as perfect as she could.
She would go to bed at night, hair perfectly combed. Everything is in order, colors all matched.
If you left something in her room, she would throw it in the trash can because it didn't match stuff in her room.
People can misunderstand that to mean something of arrogance.
Her friends didn't want to play with her, and she would be really upset about that.
She was misunderstood a lot, and I think that's how your self-esteem as a child started to decline.
She would ask me if I felt she was beautiful or was she pretty enough, and I just couldn't understand it.
One time she goes, "Do I look like E.T.?"
Brandy never thought she was beautiful in the classical sense, with the long, pretty, flowing hair and the straight teeth. And my being her dad, I said, you have something that's unique and that's better than classical beauty. She said, "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be a singer, like Whitney Houston."
Whitney was very glamorous. Oh, God, she talked about Whitney from the time she got up to the time she went to sleep.
Whitney was kind of like her model of what a singer should be like.
She wanted to sing like her. She wanted to get where she was, and that motivated her.
This was very serious to her because she really started working and honing her skills, and everything that Whitney did, she was right on it.
I believe the children are our future.
I believe the children are our future. Brandy used to always sing that song. That was like her anthem.
When Brandy latched on to Whitney Houston, that accelerated her expectations of herself.
Whitney was her model of what she could become.
I said, you know what, Brand, that's a tall order. But if that's what you want to do, then we'll try to help you to get there.
I met Brandy around '89. I was an independent producer, and we were auditioning these kids, and she started singing. And I went. We started producing music for her right away. She would come into the recording session, and she knew all her background parts. I mean, real intricate parts.
I had a little 4-track mixer, and she learned how to take the recorder and record her voice and dub herself over and over and over again.
She was a professional at 10 years old. And after a while, we started working with her. She started saying, you're off. we were like, we're the producers. You don't tell us we're off. I started shopping her around. I went to everybody.
To Motown, to MCA, to Atlantic.
Record company after record company after record company. And she was telling me she was going to get a record deal, and it didn't come.
I was sitting in the meeting with some executives. They were listening to it, and then they said, she does too many of those roles. You know that, they passed on her.
You just keep moving on because you know in your heart it's going to happen.
Let's get up for Miss Brandy Norwood. Let's get up for her.
Instead of shopping the demo, Brandy would just sing live. That was what she could really, really do. She loved the attention, and she just couldn't get enough of being that person that people want to see.
Those showcases never really turned out to be anything big until we did the Black Family Reunion.
I was in the dressing room, and I heard this voice of a young girl singing The Greatest Love of All. At the time, I was the music director for Whitney Houston. She knew every musician in Whitney's band. She knew them all by name. Remember the show you did? You remember the song you did? She was just beside herself that she was this close to Whitney.
Ricky Minor promised Brandy that he was going to introduce her to Whitney. I remember she was at a concert and they had given us tickets.
It was like that whole day, I'm going to see Whitney, I'm going to see Whitney. She was all dressed up, we're all cute and everything.
But the tickets that they had given us was like at the top of the forum.
What, people about that small?
Brandy worked her way down with every usher.
She would tell people, look, my name is Brandy. I'm going to be famous one day. If you let me down, I'll remember you.
She talked herself down to backstage where she could yell out Ricky Minor's name from a distance, and he recognized her and told her to come to the front. And then she comes back out and she's in so many tears, and I asked her what happened, and she says that they told her that Whitney was too tired and that she couldn't see her tonight.
Daddy, she said, I just cried.
I said, Brandy, don't worry. You're going to meet her on a level where she will always remember who you are.
I represented a young group of boys named Immature, and they were doing a talent show, and Brandy was in the talent show. Brandy sung exceptionally well.
Chris Stokes wanted to manage Brandy.
I wanted to actually sign her to a production contract.
Chris Stokes brought her into the Immature group. She would just sing background. This little taste of being on stage, it helped her visualize what she was going to be one day.
Now we're going to introduce y'all to a girl coming out. Brandy! Show me the... me kind, sweet destiny.
Brandy always told me, Chris, you have to work with me. I'm going to be this big star. I'm the one.
But his focus was Immature. And I would constantly tell him, you're really missing out because the person that you really should be focusing on is Brandy. But no one heard me.
Give me the cake before you eat it.
I gave Brandy her first acting job. I worked on a show called We Are Family, which I wrote and created. It was all about this family who, lost their parents, who decided to live together in an apartment.
She definitely speaks for herself, don't she? Hey, sugar, you better watch those smart remarks. One day you're going to choke on it.
The only way I'll be choking is if I eat any of that nasty-looking cake, Miss Ann.
I thought that the concept was very good, but it didn't turn out to be.
Oh, Brandy. Brandy.
Hollywood High is a performing arts magnet school, and we provide an enriched program in theater, dance, voice.
She wanted to go to a performing arts school someplace to help her enhance her skills that she had.
Brandy was a very, very ambitious student.
She always gave off the image of being so sure of herself.
She knew what she wanted to do, and she had a plan.
She had a sassiness to her. Like when you met her, she would say, "You don't know who I am? My name is Brandy."
Very forward.
And people couldn't stand you for that.
Brandy didn't have any friends at Hollywood.
Girls just didn't like her.
Kids calling her names.
They would call her Pippi because her mom used to braid her hair and put barrettes on the end.
It wasn't easy for her at all.
They'd tease her about a lot of stuff. About her clothes and her hair and her eyes. Being like really like big and wide and distinctive.
To be misunderstood by your peers, I think it takes a blow out of anyone.
She started getting girls wanting to fight her, and it was getting kind of out of control.
She would come home and say, "Oh my God, these girls are after me."
Brandy and I had the same guidance counselor at Hollywood High, Mrs. D.
She used to pop in all the time.
She would go to Miss D and ask for different parts for plays and auditions.
We get called all the time from casting agents, from agents who are looking for people to represent, because they know that we have a talent pool. This one call happened to be for a drop-dead gorgeous black girl a la Vanessa Williams. And I said, well, I've got maybe two. And Brandy came into my office and she said, Miss D, she says, how come you didn't send me out on that interview? And I said, well, Brandy, because you're not drop-dead gorgeous. She said, what do you mean? I said, you're cute. I said, but you're not Vanessa Williams drop-dead gorgeous.
The lady would never send her out like she did the other girls because they said she wasn't pretty enough, and that hurt her.
I can only tell it like I see it.
When Brandy came home and told me that her counselor told her that she wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, I wish I could say what I wanted to do on camera.
Isn't that terrible? You're not pretty enough?
If you're living in a glass house, don't throw no stones.
Who are you to say what's beauty, you know?
This is my niece we're talking about here.
I try to be really upfront with my kids.
Mean people. You got mean people in this world.
I tried not to overreact about it.
He is way more spiritual than I am. He could always find a logical, reasonable scripture and calmness to deal with the situation. Whereas me, on the other hand, no. I do not want to hear that. They mess with my kids. Somebody's got to pay. End of story, and let's get it on.
You have to stand back sometimes and not react to anything, but let your children learn.
She left the school, honestly, because it wasn't giving her what she needed.
She was only with us for about a year.
I knew that she was going to discover something that was unique about her.
One of the things that we've always said, cream always rise to the top. All you have to do is keep churning it.
I first met Brandy. She was brought to me by Chris Stokes.
I called Daryl and I said, I need you to see some of my artists.
And they auditioned in my office.
Daryl Williams heard Brandy, went crazy. Like, oh my God, she's hot.
It wasn't the vocals or the dancing or anything like that that got me. It was just her composure, and it was her sophistication. I couldn't let her get by me. I just knew that there was something special about her that I had to have.
He really believed in Brandy.
He felt Brandy had talent, and he didn't waste any time.
I had Brandy come in and audition for my boss, who was Sylvia Rome. Brandy sang one of her songs that was on a demo tape, The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston, and she nailed it. For a 13-year-old to get that song was amazing.
It was phenomenal. It actually sounded better than Whitney's. No offense, Whitney.
The thing that sold Sylvia wasn't so much the singing, actually, but Sylvia started to ask her questions after she sang. Who do you want to be like? And Brandy said, I want to be like Brandy. There's not going to be anybody like me. At the same time, I was very interested in Deborah Cox, and Sylvia said, pick one or the other. You're not going to sign two females. And so I picked Brandy.
Brandy.
she was immediately off for the deal.
She was like, you know I got a record deal.
I just remember her jumping around all over the place and just smiling, you know, Ernest, I would be a singer.
I was really nervous that I may have made the wrong choice. I didn't.
When she got the deal, Mom sort of kept me in the loop.
Marcus did play a very important role. You know, he knew Whitney.
We sat down at Howard Johnson's, and they were like, Marcus, you got to introduce her because she's about to lose her mind. So I called Whitney, and I said, we really got to meet this girl. So Whitney flew us all the way out from L.A. to New York, put us up in the hotel. We were leaving the hotel that morning, going to Whitney's house, and her water broke. And they had to rush her to the hospital, and they stopped our limo en route to the house and told us that Whitney was going into labor with the baby and that, you know, now is not a good time.
Brandy was so disappointed that she went into labor.
She was just crying, and it was kind of funny in a way, you know, in a sad way, because she had all these Whitney Houston buttons, and she had the banners and everything, and she's crying, you know, with all the stuff on the Whitney T-shirt because she had met Whitney.
Sonia was involved from, you know, the very beginning.
I sat down with Sonia over a couple of drinks, and she gave me the mother speech. You know, this is my baby. This is very serious to us.
She was not going to, in any way, compromise the integrity of her artist.
The brass at Atlantic, they thought that she was going to be a stage mom and that she didn't have any experience in the business, and she didn't.
I did know what I was going to do. My husband was working for the church, and I didn't know how we were going to make it. Not knowing who these people are or what they were all about, it's like, I love my child. I'm going to quit my job.
It was hard for Sonia because she had to make a decision as to which was most important at the moment.
Sonia became the manager after that.
She basically put Brandy's dream in front of her own career.
Sonia was coming from H&R Block, and now she's dealing with a artist that was signed to a major label.
I'm going to take my management principles that I've learned at H&R Block, and I'm going to apply them as much as I can to this. What I don't know, I'll learn quickly. But in the process of learning the business, am I going to hurt her or help her?
Here we go, here we go, here we go now.
When we signed Brandy, I think Thea was there, they just didn't tell me about it. Because they thought that we would pull out of the deal if we thought that she was doing too many things at once.
I've been working hard, 2 jobs every day.
Thea was basically about Thea Vidal, single mother who's raising her kids.
Denise, are you going to be on the phone long?
What? They broke up?
I need to study for my SATs.
And I'm trying to get the scoop on Gary and Yolanda.
The energy on the set in the beginning was like a fairy tale. We ate lunch together. She talked to me. She told me about her first kiss, and she told me one time, she said, my mama says you're my other mama. I said, yes, I am. And then it got a little ugly. This is real serious right here.
There was tension and fights on the set.
She said Thea wasn't really that nice.
A couple times she forgot her script, and that would get on my nerves.
What you want? Baby, I got it.
When she would sing on the set, Thea Vidal told her, said, when you get your show, you sing.
It's 4-letter reason. Oh, yeah.
But you on my show, don't sing.
When you are acting in the front of someone who, soon as they say cut, curses you out, and then you got to come right back and get right back in character, that's dry.
Mama, you're home. Could you smack Jarvis for me?
Well, I'd love to. Can I practice on you?
I remember one time.
Excuse me, can I please talk to you for a minute?
There was some kind of disagreement between Brand and Thea, and Brand told Thea, she said, I just want to work. And can you consider me a co-worker? Because I'm trying to just do my job.
Sonia had trained Brandy to stand up for herself, and I think Thea wasn't always accustomed to children being outspoken and expressing their point of view.
Teenagers are not the greatest creatures on the face of the earth, especially if they're female.
I couldn't leave her on that set alone.
Brandy's mom was always there. Thea wanted to feel the control of the situation, and she felt when Sonia came in and dealt with Brandy, it took away the focus.
Every day of her life on that set was miserable.
That was Thea's first show, and there was a lot on her shoulders. I mean, she had to carry the show, but she pulled it off the best she could.
That experience taught her that you gotta be strong-willed, you have to be tough-skinned, and you have to be focused on what you can become and about what you have to do.
It taught her that this is the business. This is what it's all about. Sad to say, but you gotta get ready for it.
Brandy was a teenager, and she was going through and Sonia and I, whatever we went through, that's in the past. And even God can't change the past.
We did complete our full season, so after that you wait and you find out if your show is getting a pickup for the following season.
I would say that if you have tensions on a show, the show is on its way out.
I got a written notice that it wasn't being picked up.
The cancellation was sad, but I learned a lot.
When the show was canceled, Brandy went on to do her music.
She was determined that recording was going to be her first venture for success.
Brandy was glad she was free. She was free to pursue what she knew she could excel in, and that was singing.
Look, it's all or nothing, baby.
No producers was interested in Brandy. Aaliyah had just come out, and she was the new thing, and everybody thought one young female and that's it. There's not going to be room for any more. Fortunately, Keith Crouch came along at the right time.
Daryl Williams called me and said, I really want you to meet this girl. I think she's a star, she's hot, she can sing. And I wasn't like completely knocked out right away. And Daryl asked me, just give it a shot. I Want to Be Down was the first song that Brandy and I worked on.
Brandy hated the song, was so mad at me because I really pushed for her to sing it.
We spent maybe 2 days in the studio really perfecting it.
She would come and tell me how she had to work so hard to get the notes right.
Her dad would be in the control room with me as a vocal coach.
When we would get stuck, for some reason, he just gets things out of her that nobody else can.
Sonia really steps up to develop the overall, promotion and marketing.
She picked wardrobe, picked hairstyling, picked photographers. It was really her vision in the beginning how Brandy's gonna look.
I just knew she was not gonna be wearing things that were too old for her. No one was gonna tell me any different.
There was some times when I think Brandy didn't think that her mom was making a right decision.
Her mother was just very firm in terms of not trying to make her into a sex symbol.
Well, when we delivered the album, I remember getting phone calls and letters from the executives there saying, it's good, it's not very much to it, but they thought she was cute enough and they were gonna put it out and see what happened.
What's that all about?
I Want to Be Down came out and the reaction was phenomenal.
I was driving home and I turned on the radio and it was like, oh my God, we got this new girl from Carson. They didn't even have to say Brandy. I already knew. I was like, shh, it's Brandy, it's Brandy.
She was the class joke at Hollywood High. And for her to have a single out, it was kind of like, wow, she did it.
I remember Boyz II Men calling us and saying, listen, we're number one. You're never going to take our place. And then we got the charts next week. We had kicked Boyz II Men out of number one.
She said, Daddy, can you believe it? I'm number one.
I thought, if you got a number one song, you should be on MTV.
The first video was that I Want to Be Down. Yeah.
She was just like on the telephone, talking to her friends. And just a regular down-the-way Mississippi girl.
I think the biggest obstacle for Brandy was just setting herself aside from everyone else that was out there.
Yo, what's up? This is MTV Jams, and I'm Bill Bellamy. The first time I met her was on my show, MTV Jams.
Feels really good.
So is it really hard for you,
Oh, yeah, it's really hard. I'm kind of tired, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
You did all right.
I interviewed her, and then she co-hosted with me, and she was good.
Let me put some boom in it.
Yeah, boy. It was just awesome to see a new artist come to life. A young girl whose future was right before her and who had the goods to deliver. With success, there comes a lot of expectations, you know. If your first album goes 5 million, wow, the heat is on you.
Everything is going great. She's in all of the magazines, she's on radio, she's on television, she's everywhere.
When she was nominated for the Best New Artist, I was amazed.
It was a good feeling for all of us just to see that she was in that arena now.
Nominees for Best New Artist are Brandy.
I really think she deserved it because she was the Best New Artist.
And the Best New Artist is the Hootster and the Blowfish.
What's best to some is not necessarily best to others. You can't be a sore loser.
When Brandy first told me she was going on tour with Boyz II Men, she couldn't believe it.
We're like, oh, it's happening, Boyz II Men, Brand.
Boyz II Men was outrageously huge at that time.
The first time she went out there, she was just shaking all over. It was kind of overwhelming.
This is a 15-year-old girl. She doesn't have a driver's license, but she's in front of 15,000 people every night, killing it.
It's like, okay, hi, you know, I'm the new kid on the block.
Here we go, here we go, here we go now.
She was on tour when I first called up to get Brandy to do Moesha.
Rap called me and said, we just got this script and we thought Brandy would be good for it.
Moesha was just simply a half-hour situation comedy told through the eyes of a 16-year-old African-American girl.
We read the script and we thought that Brandy would be right for it.
Brandy looked at the role and said, this is me. And then Brandy went to meet with the network.
She sat down at the head of the table and said, I understand you want to talk to me? And she proceeded to chair that meeting, if you will.
Do you know somebody named? You know the name.
They were just totally taken with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know his name.
And that sealed the deal.
What about?
After we sold Brandy, I thought, well, look, Brandy, come in and read. Why don't you read with me, just see where you are right now. She was so horrible. She was so bad. If the network had seen that reading, they would have pulled the plug. I'm literally crying. I sold a bag of smoke to the network. I'm dead. So I called up Kim Fields.
He said, listen, we're doing a series with Brandy. We'd like for you to coach her in, a few areas. I said, yeah. It was a way for me to, be able to pull another sister along.
Kim Fields wound up going out on the road with Brandy and working with her while she was on tour.
Being on tour in and of itself is just, strange. It's because you're living out of suitcases, you're living out of a bus, you're in a different city every day and night, and going through that while you're growing up. It's very surreal.
It's not your typical normal lifestyle that a child would become involved in at that age.
A lot of people who depended on Brandy, and so she had a heavy responsibility.
On her breaks, she comes to my hotel room. What's up? Or I go to her room and we work on, Moesha for a minute, and now I got to go and do chemistry, and now I got to go and sing for, however many tons of people.
What are you doing?
A lot of times she was doing 50 things. Like she'd go from a dead sleep with a sausage McMuffin and an orange juice, and she'd be straight on.
Brandy complained a few times, and she would say, I need a break.
I knew Brandy was under a lot of pressure, but I didn't know it was to the degree that it was.
I kept my daughter focused and motivated through pain.
She started to realize, if she really wanted to do this, that there were certain sacrifices that she had to make.
She was committed, and there was no room for doubt. There was no turning back.
Move to the, E to the.
When I was working with Brandy to prep Moesha, I felt that she was excited about acting, but I think more excited about the prospect of this being her show.
Move
This was the first time that she could take what she learned from Thea, Hollywood High, and all of the places where she had been given negative comments about herself to show that her set could be different.
Now, Brandy was the lead, and so that changes the whole game, right?
I got my own show now. I can sing and do whatever I want to.
Moesha.
She wasn't as experienced in the beginning, and sometimes she would get frustrated.
Hi, Mo. You came back early.
You okay?
Yeah. No. There are some real tripped out people out there, man.
She just felt like, you know, it's Moesha, I'm Moesha, so I have to be so perfect.
This tremendous pressure put on a teenager.
Brandy as Moesha, it really kind of coincided with Brandy's life.
Bye, Daddy.
I got one word for you, Mo. Curfew.
When you're acting, you have to really deal with a lot of personal issues.
One day you're like, wow, look at me, and the next day you're like, oh, am I fat? Do I have acne?
She always say, my eyes are too wide apart.
When you're in that spotlight, everything's just bigger than life.
Moesha was an instant hit for UPN.
It did a lot for Brandy's career.
Moesha had it where nobody would forget who Brandy was.
Moesha.
I worked with Whitney on the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award. Brandy was a performer when Whitney was hosting.
She was so excited about seeing Whitney and all of the things she was going to say to Whitney. And then when Whitney walked in, she couldn't even go toward Whitney. She ran away from Whitney.
It's just like your eyes when the sun hit it. You know, you want to close your eyes because it's just too much light.
Brandy was standing on one side of the table, and Whitney was on the other side of the table. And it was like she was moving in slow motion, like, oh my God, it's Whitney, oh my God. And it was like totally like she was scared of her.
She just never thought that she could get that close.
What are you doing? She was like, hi. And everything just like, oh my God, you're my star, you're my... So her and Whitney was just like hugging, and Brandy was crying.
When Brandy hugged Whitney, it was almost like that was the day. It couldn't have gotten any better.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Miss Whitney Houston and Brandy.
Houston.
I was in my office, and my assistant called me, and she said, Babyface is on the phone for you. I'm like, yeah, right. Why is he calling me?
We had him on speakerphone. He was at a piano. He said, I want to play you guys a bit of a song that I wrote for Brandy.
It was called Sitting Up in My Room, and he really wanted Brandy to record this song for the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack.
He starts singing the melody and the lyric, and we were blown away.
It was Whitney's idea to, pull Brandy in on the project.
She was just literally screaming all over the house. Whitney has me. Oh my God, it's me, it's me, it's me.
Brandy. She was really excited about it and very honored to be a part of that.
Brandy. It was like a dream come true for Brandy.
I was even more surprised when I worked with her in the studio and really heard her tone face to face.
Brandy.
It blew me away.
Here's what I wanna do.
She went in there and nailed that song in no time flat.
She knew Whitney was going to hear it.
Whitney loved Brandy's voice.
Everything that Brandy asked for was happening right before her eyes.
It just put her in a different league. She just felt like, this is it. This is what I've been working for.
How do you describe a dream that comes true? It's a feeling that you just feel, sort of like when whales communicate. You can't even explain it with words. You just gotta go,
Being asked to sing on the soundtrack gave her a confidence in that she had done all she needed to do, and she was there.
Brandy had no doubts that she would not make it. She gave 110% from day one.
She's really had this evolution and this growth, and to do that in the fishbowl with a lot of people watching you is very difficult.
It's hard to be like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it, chase my dreams. If I fall on my face, I fall.
I had a dream.
Brandy did have a lot of struggles with certain people that weren't nice to her.
Now she's showing these people, look who I am, I'm Brandy. I'm very happy for Brandy. I have no beef.
I hope she got mad at me and decided, well, I'm going to show her, and that helped spur her on. I also take a better look at what I say to kids and how I say it, because she was obviously way more sensitive than I expected.
She finally realized on her own, love starts within.
When I saw one sky.
She didn't have to become anything but who she is.
I am very proud of her. Brandy has survived. She has overcome. And if something were to happen to me today, I would have no problems leaving her, knowing that, you know what, she turned out to be one hell of a woman. And I'm proud of that.
One and it made